Yo, what it do? It's your boy B as always, man. I'm rocking solo right now. Q's on his way. He gonna pop in. Y'all already know how he do it. But right now, man, I got some people with me, man. Some of my closest friends and brothers and loved ones, man. So I'm gonna introduce the people to you. First off, you've seen him before. He's on the channel. He has his own show on the channel. Check it out. Bishop Fits My Church drops every Wednesday. Mr. Trey Perry's in the house.
What's happening? What's happening?
Second up, man, we got one of my closest friends. We've been friends just about our whole lives, man. It's my boy McBride.
How y'all doing?
Up next, man, we got Jacoby. Me and Jacoby, our friendship don't go back that far, but he's a really great guy, man, and our friendship is yet developing.
What's up, good people?
And then last but not least, you've seen him before on the channel. He's my blood brother, but he's also our business manager here at J Fuller Media. We got Mr. Jay Watson.
What's up, everybody?
All right, man. And so what we're doing, this show is a little bit different. What we're doing, instead of being our normal crazy selves, flipping through the internet and pulling up crazy stories, man, we decided because so much is happening in our world right now, so many things is going on, we wanted to talk about it. We wanted to seriously talk about it. And maybe through our conversations, somebody can be reached, or maybe through our conversation, somebody can gain more understanding. So we wanted to bring the fellas together and sit down and really have a strong Black man conversation about it, man, because it's a conversation that needs to be had. So I'm excited to have the guys here with me. Like I said, Q will be in here in a little while. I just got off the phone with him, but I'm excited to have the guys here to get this conversation heard, man. And so right now, before we even dive into it, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Click your notifications on, man, so you can get notifications whenever Jay Phillip drops anything. We have so many great shows on our channel, man, and I'm gonna tell you, our lineup coming up is about to be stupid. We have 3 shows that are in pre-production right now. So soon as we can get back to the studio, we're gonna drop these shows, man. It's gonna be amazing. But all that aside, let's dive right into it. Gentlemen, how are y'all this evening?
Chilling, good, man.
That's good, man. So I want to start it out. First and foremost, I want to know individually, man, how are y'all coping mentally going through all of this?
For me, it's a mixed feeling. It's a mixed emotion. You know, being a Black man now, you know, a lot of things you would thought would have changed, but it seems like, you know, as much as we think and hope they would change, a lot of things are staying the same. So, you know, every day I think about my brothers. I think about my friends and you guys, man. Think about, you know, how simple it should be for us to go about our daily lives, but it's not, you know. So you're dealing with, you know, I'm seeing Trump supporters, working with Trump supporters, and, you know, every now and then I'll hear them talking about, oh, well, Trump is brilliant, Trump is this, and, you know, and it baffles me as, are we watching the same news? Are we living in the same America? You guys don't know this, but I have a brother who is actually a police officer. So, you know, I struggle with, okay, you know, I being a Black man in Birmingham, Alabama, as we, you know, call it, and also being the brother of a police officer, you know, wondering, hey, man, is he going to come home that night to his family? But then I'm also wondering, am I going to be able to make it home that night without being pulled over or having my life taken? So it's interesting.
You know, I had a conversation with a white gentleman not a day or two ago, and we were just talking about everything that's going on. And, you know, he was like, you know, he's understanding the protests of, you know, the protest and everything is going. But one thing I let him know, he was like, I still just don't understand why it has to go this deep. And one thing I told him, I said, man, you never been Black in America. You never been Black. You always been white your whole life. We all know that being white, it's like the world was built for you to succeed. But it's hard for a Black man, not just a Black man, anybody besides the white race. So it's hard. And I was like, what we are dealing with, like with Kaepernick. When Kaepernick kneeled, he didn't kneel because of the flag. He didn't kneel because he don't like America. You think about it. When we go to Olympics, we root for the USA. We root for That's not it. It's just we want to be treated just like everybody else. That's all we want.
For me, it's double-sided. I'm almost like Trey there, to where I'm torn on both ends. Me being black, I have biracial kids. My wife, she's white. You know, one of the things that I see is that there's, to a degree, and it's not everybody. It's not every white person. I'm not trying to say that, but there's a lack of respect or regard for an individual's life outside of the white race at times. And what I mean by that is that you have, and each one of us, we're all five guys, all black. We still all kind of grew up a little differently. There's some similarities, there's some differences. So when I take that across the racial stance between black and white, many, they can see it from afar. They can't truly understand it because, one, fear, I think, just from having that conversation, but they only want to go so far. And then you start seeing where it is the point to where, well, I can sort of see what you're upset about. However, and then you have the ... So you have that component, and that's why I'm torn. And then on the black side of things, it's the same conversation. It's just from a different perspective. It's like, I'm here, I'm giving my frustrations, but ... And so we have that ... that is separating both of us from hearing each other. And it's just tough. Everybody's trying to speak and no one is listening. And that's why I find it tough. Because everybody is just talking and no one is listening to the ones that's really hurting. And I had to talk to my son, I think it was Monday of this week. I took my son on a walk through our neighborhood, and I spent about 45 minutes with my son about going on, and how my ancestors and people of the black race have been affected for hundreds of years, and how my wife's ancestors, not necessarily hers directly, but how her ancestors took part in that. And it's not to stem hate, but he needed to understand what's going on. And, that's another piece that I'm torn with. And we can get into that later. I don't want to take up all the time, but I'll let everybody else share what they want to share.
For me, it's both sides. I'm happy and I'm sad. I'm happy that what's going on, all the protests across the world, the world is tired of how we're getting treated in America.
Yeah.
I'm also sad that another black man had to lose his life. Another black person had to lose their life. Also with that, my dad is a police officer. I work with police every day. I have a lot of good friends, people I went to school with that I'm friends with that are police officers. And I know all of them aren't bad. I know all police aren't bad, you know? And I'm it's kind of like I'm torn because when I hear black people say all police are bad, well, you gotta stop that because you're talking about my dad.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And I understand what they coming from, but just like people out here rioting, you're not one of the rioters, but you're out here protesting. and you don't want to get included with them. Well, you're doing the same thing to the police.
Right.
Sure.
You can't be mad at all of them for what some did, you know.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
But also with that, I don't know every police officer. When I get pulled over, I'm still scared because I don't know them. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Right.
also have that other side.
Yeah.
But I'm
and
just
you,
really happy that the whole world is actually tired of it. The whole world is
Yeah.
tired of seeing us get killed on just in the streets.
Oh yeah, that's a
and,
beautiful thing.
I think
and go ahead, Trey.
I think not only are they tired, but for them to see it happen the way it did.
Yeah.
That was a paramedic, a white paramedic who's, or she was in the health field, and she was like, "Let me check him," and they were wanting to restrain her and push her back. And seeing that is like, okay, yes, they finally get what we go through, but it's like then you have these, well, you're going too far. You shouldn't tear the monument down. You shouldn't do this, but it's just like, bro, like y'all lost the war. That war is over. Why are you still remembering, stuff that happened that was suffering for us?
Trey, I'm glad. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm glad you hit that point. That's actually one of the questions that I wanted to get to. What is your response? What have you been hearing as an excuse? And I'm gonna say an excuse for racism, because anytime someone says, "Yes, I get that it needs to change," but or "I'm sorry he lost his life," but or you're out there riding and protesting for racial equality, but I consider that as an apologist for systematic racism. Because if you can't at this point see and understand that there is a problem that has to be fixed, then you're just an apologist. So I wanted to get you guys' viewpoints on what have you been hearing and what has been your response, because that's of the utmost of importance as well.
So with me, I was in the Marines, so I have a lot of white friends, right? And I've been going to protests, been going live where I was at protests, doing marches and stuff, been sharing different stuff about racial inequality, how the justice system is set up to where we'll get more time versus a white person do the same crime, they get a slap on the wrist,
Yeah.
right? Um, and they always have, they try to give you the runaround. Oh, what about this? Oh, what about that? They just didn't have the money to pay a good lawyer. Oh, how what else does he have on his record? This can't be the first time he's been arrested. They've had to deal with him before.
Yeah.
You don't know that. Even
Yeah.
still, if that even is the case, that still doesn't justify killing somebody in the street. But what
I agree.
about? But what about is that? But once you hit them with that, but it doesn't matter what you say to them. They still gonna say, but what about this and but what about that? It's like you're not listening. If you come at me and I tell you something, I give you that response, and you say, but you missed the whole thing that I said before.
Right.
You're
That's true.
not you heard me, but you're not listening.
Yeah.
It's funny. Go ahead.
One thing I want to add to that, that's one of the things that it hurts me because going back to kind of what I said, both sides are trying to talk, and people, they, especially when I'm having conversation, people are more willing, not willing, that's not the right word. People are listening to respond instead of listening to understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's one of my angsts, to where it's just, man, you're trying to respond to give a reason, and you're not hearing the heart of the issue. And once we get to the heart of the issue, honestly, all the byproducts and the recourse that has happened because of the heart of the issue, that stuff is going to go away. But because they're listening for sometimes keywords or to refute an example that is given, you know, I had a friend kind of tell me, man, you know, and this is before George Floyd, but, you know, he was saying that, you know, but, you know, officers just don't, you know, use brute force for no reason. They had to like give them a reason. And I was like, hold on. I was like, maybe not with you.
Yeah.
But they do. Let me tell you, they go and they have this power complex. I don't know what they're trying to satisfy at times. And I will tell you this, for one of the saddest things for me is to see it from any officer, but even when it's a black officer. They have this power trip, and it's like, man, why are you coming at me so aggressive? You haven't even explained to me what I've done. Like, you stepping up to me for asking me for my driver's license and registration, like I'm already convicted, and you can't approach me like that and expect me not to get offended. And so when I hear that, when I hear the conversations around this, it's just a lot of people trying to listen for like keywords, key things. They're just listening to try to refute your example that you're giving and not really listening for the heart of the issue.
Well, and you know, that takes me back to, I'll never forget when I was in my teens. I had to be in my senior year in high school, and I was working at Western Supermarket, Wells Food Smart, we know it by, up there in the Festival Shopping Center. And I never forget, it was a Friday night, and y'all remember when Festival used to jump, like that was the place to be. It was a Friday night. We was working at 12 o'clock shift, so about 10:15, me and two other guys that worked there, we got in my car, and I had a car with rims on it, dark tint, loud system. We get up there, call ourselves Stunning, just for 10 minutes. It was on a 15-minute break. So we rolled up there, had our music blasting, and as soon as I got around the festival, I was turning back around to go back to the store. This undercover cop pulled out in front of me and pulled his gun out and made all three of us get out the car. Well, like I said, we had on our Western shirts and we had trash bags in our pocket, box cutters, because we was at work. We just took a 15-minute break. We just trying to stunt to see what ladies was out there. You know how I go back in the day. And he's searching us, asking us questions. What's that in your back pocket? What is this? Why you got a box cutter? Why you got this? Dude, we at work. But why he's searching us, you got some guys, a group of white guys, and I knew them from school. I mean, you know, they was out there selling dope. But while you stopping us, we just young black guys at work. But it's like, that's where the world being. I mean, this is where the world being. It's like the black guys are doing wrong, everybody else is doing okay.
Yeah, well, you know, I've spent.
Go ahead.
I've spent my whole week. One of my favorite pastimes, guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. I can be a little confrontational sometimes, and one of my favorite pastimes is in the morning. Once I get my good morning coffee, I like to go on Twitter and respond to racist comments. I mean, hey, judge me. That's what I like to do. So this week has been heaven for that. I mean, it's been racist comments all over Twitter. And a lot of the stuff I see is Chicago's murder rate. What about black on black crime? What does the Confederate monuments have to do with race, with the brutality of the police? All you guys hate police officers. You're burning down your own cities. All of that stuff has been the key excuses that I've seen to try to stop the change that's happening. And so my response is, of course, with the murder rate, I still can't comprehend of people even using that as an excuse. And in my opinion, it shows their racism off top. Because if your first response, number one, if your first defense is to be offended, so clearly you're part of the problem. You know, because to the rest of the world, they've just been joining in. which I think I didn't get to this before, which I think is wonderful. I'm glad that we're at this point, where finally the world sees. We've been crying out for 400 years, and finally the world sees. Finally, they get it. And maybe it took us to get to cancel culture, or maybe it took the social media influx, or maybe it took, I don't know, everything else going on in the world that the world has never seen, for them to finally say, hey, we hear you. We're here. When I look at DC and I see that street painted that says Black Lives Matter, ironically right behind the White House, man, that does something to me as a Black man. That tells me that they're listening finally. I can't tell you how many times I've been pulled over and been searched. How many times I can take my car. Thank God I've never been arrested. Don't have a criminal rap sheet, none of that. But me doing nothing but driving down the street headed to work and been pulled out of the car and searched in the snow. You know what I'm saying? So it's just that craziness that finally the world is listening, man. And go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, what I feel, and what I feel bad for is like Jacoby kids. With them being biracial, people tend to pick at them a little bit more. If you was full of Black or full of white, you either on this side of the fence or you're not. But when you're in that middle, and one thing about it, Jacoby, what I'm saying, I like the fact, and I send you gratitude that there's nothing wrong with interracial marriages. I think they're great. Because for one thing about it, when we all die and we get judged, it's not going to be a black side of heaven, a white side of heaven. We all going to be together as one body in Christ.
Right.
So therefore, I love it because I love all people. If you treat me right, I'm treating you right. But it's just the fact that we have people that are still ignorant. They were brought up in ignorancy and they still ignorant. Because how can you sit here and hate your brothers and sisters because of the color of their skin, but then you go to church on Sunday and oh Lord, I love you.
That's right.
That don't mix. That's like oil. That's like oil and water. That's like oil and water. It does not mix.
That's right.
That's like me coming to your house, Jacoby, saying, "Man, you know what? I like you, dude. You cool, but I'm not gonna accept your wife because she's of a different race." But then I go out on your patio and I tell you how good God been to me and how I love the Lord. You gonna look at me like, dude, we ain't serving the same God. Ain't no way we serving the same God.
That's right.
Well, Jay, to actually piggyback off what you just said, two things I wanted to say. The first thing that I wanted to say while you were talking, what comes to me is one of my favorite movies is Remember the Titans. And there was this one part in the movie where Gary Bertier, who was the captain of the football team, went to his black counterpart, his black teammate, and he was yelling at him, "Why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing this?" And he said, the black man said to him, he said, "Attitude reflects leadership, Captain." Yeah. And so the reason why a lot of this is going on is because of the leadership or lack thereof that we have in the White House. The Bible says where there is no vision, the people perish, or the people lack. And so what we have is a lot of people lacking sense, lacking wisdom, lacking the gift that God gave them of love. And so that's one thing. And then you also have hate is something that's taught. You have hate that's taught. And so they're going to make excuses because they don't want to be comfortable. They don't want to be uncomfortable. We are people who don't sometimes like to change. The Bible also says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. People don't want to change their mind. People's minds, I've been here for so long. I've been doing this for so long. And so if you make me change, I'm going to get comfortable. And people don't like to be comfortable. I was telling you guys earlier, I'm actually a big Minnesota fan. And so in this group, we were talking about it. And one of the guys mentioned Chicago. And I was like, okay. I said, yeah, you talk about Chicago. I said, but see, the thing is, I said, the difference is if this was a dog that this police officer put his foot on, or his on the dog's neck, or a white person, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Yeah.
But that just goes to show you because and when I said that, he's like, Michael Vick is a whatever he said. He said some choice words, and I said, "See, you just proved my point." I said all the time I have seen in my neighborhood, in my hood, we have done dog fighting ignorantly. I know I have. And even with Michael Vick, if you watch 30 for 30, he was taught by a white man how to dog fight. So dog fighting. And then why is it that we talk about we're so down on him because of dog fighting when there are people that are cockfighting? We don't say anything about that. We don't say anything about you killing deer or killing this animal and putting them on your wall. There's nothing said about that. So we have to be able to check ourselves while we're pointing the fingers at the person. But remember, we have to point those three pointing back at us. And that's what we fail to do. That's what people fail to do, period. So, yeah.
One thing I'd like to say with our children, my wife and I, even when we first got married, one of the first things I did, and I don't say this prideful or anything like that, I knew that once we were getting to that point that I had to be able to handle anything that came against our relationship, our marriage, or anything like that. Because we get it from both sides. It's not just white people looking at me strange, it's black people looking at me strange. I've had people try to pull my race card. Like, I've forgotten that I've come from the north side of Birmingham. Like, I realized I grew up on 32nd Avenue, went to Carver High School. I haven't forgotten that. And, I've had white people to look at, me and my wife as well. And I knew I had to be able to have that confidence to stand up for us both. Because if not, then weren't going to be. And I never looked for anything. I even talked to some of my family members and just let them know, like, hey, I'm not looking for it. Now, if it is done intentionally, I'm not going to pull you aside. I'm just letting you know ahead of time. I'm going to address it right there.
Right there.
If you chose to do it right there, I'm going to address it right there. But I'm not looking for it. So I'm not guessing and sifting through words to see what you really mean. No, I don't care about that. We can joke, we can do all of that. But once it gets serious, I'm going to address it. The other thing, once we start having kids, I had to make it a point, man, not to have my kids to grow up in fear. We work to make sure that they understand their names, who they are, because people will try to put hatred in their hearts and try to get them to identify with one side or the other. I remember when I was going through elementary and middle school, there was a biracial girl that grew up with, and man, middle and elementary school was the toughest time in her life because she knew she had her dad was white and her mom was black, but she knew she had to fight, and she did not for a long time know how to cope with it. Because people will tell her, oh, your mom black, you black. Yeah, you got part of black. Black is the dominant race. And wanting her to completely refute and just do away with the fact that she's also white. And man, I saw her being torn with that. She did things to try to fit in, to try to remove herself and identify with the people that were there. So remove that side to totally identify with people that whose midst she was in. And I don't want my kids growing up with that. And so we really work at, and again, it's just our way of life. It's not like I'm sitting down teaching a lesson. It's within our everyday actions that they see that. When I see insecurities, I ask them why. I ask them, has anybody said anything to them? But when my son was in elementary school, he went to Avondale. He was addressed with that. He started to feel like, man, Dad, like, why are they asking me this? I was like, what a 5-year-old? They don't really know about race at 5. Yeah. Not really, but he has some older kids coming to him, picking at him because he's mixed, and so I had to make sure he didn't question who he is. And so that's a perspective that that we take. Not everybody does it the same, and kids do deal with that, man. It can be tough, but they have to understand to love people. So two things that we teach our kids is to love others and protect others as well. Treating others as you do yourself. I don't care if they're Asian, if they're Hispanic, if they're Black, if they're white, man, we gotta love others and not feel to try to protect our position. So I just felt like I needed to share that.
That's good,
To
man.
piggyback off of Jacoby, North Side.
North Side.
Throw that out there. Hey, but you know, racism is, hey, we East Side, so it is what it is. But
East Side.
East Side. But hey, look, but you know, racism is taught.
Yeah,
it's nothing that you're born into. It's taught.
Right.
I was on Facebook earlier today, scrolling through, and I seen somebody posted where a white guy called his son in. Of course, his son was a white boy, and he was like, "Son, he had pictures on. He had 4 different pictures, and it was like a black kid. It was like 4 different black as a black kid hugging a white kid, and he was like, "Son, what you see here?" He was like, 2 kids hugging. What you see there? 2 kids hugging, and it was a black child and white child. You know, and it comes down like I said earlier, it's ignorancy. When you teach your children white and black, or to see color, that's the problem, and that's where we at in America right now, and that's why we are where we at, because we still have parents teaching kids the difference. Oh, that's white, that's black. At the end of the day, we might have different skin colors, but if I cut your wife Jacoby and I cut myself, we gonna bleed the same color.
That's it.
Your wife can catch cancer just like I can catch cancer.
That's it.
Your wife can die from a gunshot or from a disease or from diabetes or whatever, the same way I can. And then, like I said once before, and this is gonna be my point all night, y'all gonna get tired of hearing me saying this, but when we die, we all got to go face one king, regardless, whether we like it or not.
Right.
Yeah. One thing I want to say real quick, you brought up the example of that kid. In my household, for forever, my kids have just now, probably within the past year, my son, he's going into 4th grade. During his 3rd grade year, he really started understanding what's out there in between black and white. We never really mentioned that in my household. Never. And not because we were trying to hide it or anything like that. We didn't see a need for it. It's not like my wife and I are colorblind or anything like that. I go to an international church. There's no way I can be colorblind because you have to recognize the various nationalities that are there. However, I'll tell you, my kids for the longest, and still kind of now, before they would call somebody black and white, they'll say, "Man, that guy's dark brown. Dad, you're a medium brown." I'm a real light brown. You know, and then of course my wife, they say she's white because mom just real fair skin. You know, but it was never a black and white thing for the longest. And as they continue to get into school more, you start to see them be influenced by others bringing that in. Now, we don't refute it. They bring it to us. Yeah, this is actually my race. Even before they got into school, we had already identified that with them, that I am black and my wife is white. I didn't want them to be shocked by that, somebody bringing that up to him in school. However, even when he was recognizing that, and we introduced that to him when my son first went to kindergarten, he still would just use the color shades. So that's just a personal example in my household that you really have kids really pick up on what they're taught, you know, and what they see in front of it. And that's one thing we have to be aware, that the stuff that is taught is not necessarily what comes out of your mouth. That's a whole nother thing. Man, I'm telling you, kids are so observant, man, that they pick up on other things. My son, sometimes when he gets frustrated, he acts a lot like me. He'll grunt and just like, oh, you know, he'll do a lot of that. I never sat down and told him, when you get upset, you grunt. No, he saw me upset and he saw me grunt. And so that's kind of how he does himself. you know, and so a lot of what we teach is not necessarily spoken. That's part of it, but it's not it.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Trey.
I was going to say, you know, ever since, I mean, and even before this, it's just I look at people different. I look at people's actions. You know, like it was crazy. I was actually picking my daughters up yesterday, and we made it to like this red light, and there were a couple white guys that were out there putting up, you know, signs for construction. And I rolled, you know, I was like just sitting there. I was like, I looked over, I was like, okay, you're talking about construction. So I rolled my window down and I spoke to him. I said, hey man, how's it going? And, you know, I don't know if I scared him or whatever, but it's like, you know, how y'all doing? And, you know, got to having a conversation with him. And, you know, I gave him my, you know, business card to insurance. I gave my business card and I was like, man, gave it to him, man. If y'all need anything, let me know if I can help you. And then as it turned green, I said, God bless you all. And it was like, okay, and I don't know if I shocked them by saying that, but then as I was driving away, my children were like, Daddy, do you know him? I said, no. I said, with what we're dealing with, we have to change the dynamic. You know, you're going to have people that are going to walk up to you and ain't going to speak. You know, they're going to look at you funny. And I still have people, you know, a white couple, when I was going to a store today, they looked at me like I was crazy, but it's like you got to kill them with kindness. My mom used to always say, kill them with kindness, love them in spite of. And, you know, even as a grown up now, I hear her words echoing in my ear. We have to continue to love in spite of, because that's what Jesus did. Although some of them make it hard for it to be done, we still have to do it because we have to be accountable for us.
Yeah, most definitely. Changing gears here. I just want to shift because it's another major story in the internet world right now. The NFL. Roger Goodell came out and he released his typical corporate statement, and of course, everyone's reaction is turned straight to, well, if you mean what you're saying, why doesn't Colin Kaepernick have a job yet? And of course, we all know the Drew Brees controversy this week. His feelings on the flag. McBride is actually a former Marine, so he has something. He has a feeling that no one else on this call can
understand.
Can get with. You know what I'm saying? His feeling towards that flag is different than all of ours. So we are citizens. He actually went and fought for it. Yeah. Have lost friends and you know, guys he's shared things with to war. So McBride, what are your feelings towards Drew Brees and his statements from earlier this week?
So what Drew Brees said is showing his ignorance, because it was never the kneeling was never about protesting the flag. Yeah, never. That was said numerous times by numerous different people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was never. If anything, it was more about the song than about the flag. Mainly the second verse of the song.
Right. Yeah.
That's what was exactly. So to me, like it's been said, this isn't about the flag. And then you want to get mad when he's doing a peaceful protest. Right. But then, so where can we protest at? You don't want us to do it on the field. You don't want us to do it on the side of the road. You don't want us to do it on the bus. You don't want us to do it in a coffee shop. Where do you want us to do it?
That's right. It's always the same thing. You can protest, but I don't want to see it.
Yeah, just not here.
No. Watch this. You just said the same thing over and over again. You don't want us to protest. That's literally what it is. They don't want us to protest. They want everything to go the way they want it to go. They want to be in control. They don't want to be uncomfortable, and we're making them uncomfortable.
But you know, I mean, and you know, and it's not about. I mean, like Mark. I've been knowing Mark since he was young. I mean, he been my little brother. I adopted Mark. I mean, years ago. I watched Mark grow up to be a young man and a father, and well, not a young man. He's a man now and a father. And but then we got two God brothers that's right now. They're overseas. You you know, for our country. I got uncles that have been overseas and fighting for our country. When Kaepernick kneeled, it was never against the flag. It's just a problem that we're still faced with now.
I mean, let's just be honest. Let's just start from the beginning. First of all, Kaepernick actually was sitting. That's what the stupidity of the people that are having issues with him kneeling. He was sitting down, and what happened? This is after him studying what was going on, and he was thinking about what to do. If you watch 30 for 30 on that, and it was a Green Beret, Nate Boyer, who played for the Seahawks, that said, "Man, listen, I understand what you're trying to do. This is the way we honor, you know what I'm saying, and you want to respect your cause and honor your cause, take a kneel." Because, and McBride, you tell me if I'm wrong, he said that these the way that when a fallen soldier loses someone and he wants to show his respect, he takes a knee. And
take a knee. Yep.
And also, it's funny. The Bible says every knee shall bow and every tongue confess. And when we praying, we go on what? Our knees. So it's like
right.
How and when I'm sorry, I ain't trying to preach, but when Jesus, when the lady was caught in adultery and they wanted to stone her, Jesus did what? He knelt down and he wrote in the ground. So in those cases,
come on, bring it home.
In those cases, it was never nothing wrong with kneeling. But all of a sudden now, when a black man wants to kneel peacefully, you got a problem with it. And also takes me, and I'm done when I say this, it takes me back to the movie The Great Debaters. I don't know if you all have seen that movie. Yeah. And in that final scene, he talks about civil disobedience. You know, you would prefer we take civil disobedience because there's a side of us that you don't want. You want the Martin Luther King side. You don't want the Malcolm X side. Because if you continue to object to civil disobedience, you're going to see that other side.
That's true.
But my thing is, if they would have listened then, when Kaepernick tried, we wouldn't be where we at now.
Now you on something.
So they didn't listen then. So now we all have children. We all have children. What's up, Brandon? Well, Brandon have nieces. Brandon, no, wait a minute. No, Brandon have nieces and nephews. I mean, we got grown nieces, and he helping me raise my kids now. But your child, when they don't listen, you try to tell them. You know, you hate whooping your child, but when they don't listen, then you have to go ahead and reinforce. Okay, it's time for dad to pull out that belt or uncle to pull out that belt. Right, how you want to do it? That's the same thing with Kaepernick. They didn't listen. He tried to do it peacefully. He tried to do it silent, but they didn't listen. Now, because they didn't listen, that's where the world at today.
Cities are literally burning right now.
Yeah. One thing was that I was having when the Kaepernick thing first happened, there was an older white gentleman that was at my office, and he came in all kind of grumpy about the situation. And I told him, I said, well, I think you're missing the point, because he said, one of the first things he said was, you know, if you can't respect the flag and you don't like this country, then you need to leave. And I said, well, I think you're missing the point there. I can see part of your perspective and where you're coming from in that. You do need to have a respect for the country that you live in. And I'm not discounting that. However, I told him, I said, tell me this. How would you feel respecting an anthem that is signifying, you know, a country that is not protecting you? That is not protecting your children. You're saying this country that you live in, that you love and that you like, is a great country, but then your friends' kids are being mistreated and their lives are threatened. But no. But it's because they did something. They had to do something to be put in that. And you know, I continue to hit him with those situations. So I was like, okay, so if you didn't feel protected by the systems in this country, would you still salute would you still give respect to it? And his only answer to me was then, well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Hey, Jacoby, Jacoby, you should have hit him with lift every voice and sing. You should have said, well, once you start standing when we sing that and see what
Exactly. Oh yeah.
And Jacoby,
but again, he wasn't trying to listen. That same thing. He never had a different argument. His only thing was, well, and then because he started to get a little irate, and I didn't back down, but because he was like, I don't give a and all this, and I was like, listen, I'm not trying to get you riled up. I'm trying to get you to think, because right now, in your own shoes, you're in your own safe little world with your picket fence and all of this, and you're not understanding what is happening outside of your little safety area when your neighbors on the other side of the city that are not necessarily doing things that are wrong are being abused. They have to worry about where they go. I remember it was late at night. It was about 10:30. I'm coming from church in Vestavia, and we were finishing up worship practice. And I pull out of our parking lot, out of our driveway onto 31, and I'm going, and I see the police officer loop around. Now, I'm not saying I was profiled because it was late at night. He couldn't see through the tinted windows in my car, nothing like that. However, he did pull me over. The one thing I want to get to when I say that is when it happened, I was on the phone with my wife. Her fear was greater than mine. Her fear was greater than mine. She was like, you want to stay on the phone with me? I was like, no, actually, if I need to, I'm just going to go ahead and record this. I had already started it before the officer pulled up. But her fear was greater than mine. One of the first things, she's like, babe, I love you, and you call me as soon as it's over. Now, fortunately, with that incident, it wasn't racial or anything. It was late at night, and all he asked, he was like, hey, I just wanted to see if everything was okay. I saw you coming out of the parking lot late. And, I was like, yep, I was just coming out of worship practice, and we just had a late night. And I even told him, I was like, you're going to see a couple other cars coming out of there. And he didn't give me any grief or anything like that. And he was like, well, thank you. He's like, I'll sweep that area. He's like, actually, we have a lot of people loitering at night in you guys' parking lot. That was something that I didn't know. So that was his reasoning. But the thing that I want to get at is that the fear that my wife had was even greater than mine. And so that was the thing that I wanted that gentleman to understand. Like, you can be pulled over by the cops and you feel like you can mouth off, at him right away. I'm trying to, in a sense, not out of fear, but I'm trying to make sure I'm choosing my words and, just trying to be cordial, even if he instigates it. And so you tell me if you feel like honoring something that is not protecting you.
Yeah.
But Jacoby, man, that's the sad part about it. That's the sad part about it. Your wife had more fear than you because you know what I'm saying, you're not scared of no man. So therefore, but your wife had more fear, and the reason why she possibly had more fear because you're a black man. And it's sad that now we're all grown, we all been driving for years, but it's something about it when a cop get behind you, we get nervous. Why?
Yep.
Because we just don't know what this cop or who this cop is going to pull us over.
Where he's going to go.
It has been incidents where a guy or any black person been driving, and then they get set up. All of a sudden, they find all this dope in their car.
Yeah.
And they haven't had nothing. They never have. You can give them a test right now and they'll pass it. They don't deal with that. But that's just the world that we living in. It's so sad that as a black man, when a cop get behind us, we don't feel safe. We feel threatened.
And it's funny because of what you were saying about, the guy was going back and forth with you. That's still happening today. But one of the things that always sticks to my mind is when they talk about you're disrespecting the flag. Why is it not disrespectful to the flag to wear it as a bikini or a bandana or any other thing like that? And then also it's like, okay, so with Drew Brees, it's like, okay, he talked about his grandfather's fighting the war. I had a brother who was in the Navy. I had an uncle who was in the Marines. I had a grandfather who was in the Army, and I'm pretty sure you all had relatives. McBride, you were in there. So it's like, what makes your parents and your grandparents so much better than my parents and grandparents and relatives, to where if I choose not to do the same thing that you do, I'm less of a patriotic American. And it's interesting because it's like, okay, to that person, I would say, hey, you know, when your dad came home, he came home and he was able to get his GI Bill. He was able to get in a good community. He was able to come back as a first-class citizen. Meanwhile, I'm thankful they were alive, but there were so many people that looked like me who were hung in their uniforms, houses were burned and they weren't allowed to vote, and they were second-class citizens, although they did the same thing. They answered the call to serve their country and to fight a war that the people they were fighting against did nothing to them. But when they came home, they were victimized by the same people that were supposed to be their brothers in arms. And that's one of the things. Is like, until people answer that question, I don't want to hear anything about, well, you should do this and you should do that. Please answer that question for me. And even honestly, you would think that it's all gone. But McBride, I don't know if you know, it's still there even with you all now. You know, sometimes they don't care if you were in the military. The fact that you're black in America is like you were black in America in the 40s.
And see, that's one thing, you know, that really hurts me, you know, because I wasn't just in, you know, I've been to Afghanistan. You get what I'm saying? I went overseas and fought for this country, right? But why am I more scared over here when I get pulled over than I was over there? You get what I'm saying? Like, that's not right. Why did I go over there and fight to have to worry about, am I going to be killed by a police officer at home? No warrant come in my house and kill me while I'm asleep.
Right.
Or confuse my door with their door and come in my house and kill me.
Yeah.
Why? I don't understand that.
Man, look. I know that I'm not a host of this show, but I'm going to take a turn. And did y'all see on today? I don't know if y'all read anything, but I seen what Jake Fromm from Georgia. He played for the Buffalo Bills. Am I right? It didn't get drafted by the Buffalo Bills.
You right.
They're talking about dropping him because he was texting with somebody, and they're talking about gun laws, and basically in so many words, he said, I feel like they should raise the prices of guns so the elite white people can continue to buy guns.
Yeah.
Y'all look, yeah. And
it was,
you know, so like I said, BA trying to take over your show, man. I just thought that was crazy that you gonna say something like that, and you supposed to be, you know, when people look at you as an athlete, you're supposed to be trying to keep the peace.
Yeah.
But they let you know racism is still there.
You know, right? If I was a closet racist, I would be so scared right now because you're now on the verge of getting exposed because no one is covering up for you at this point. Now the world has turned as you know it. And so now you could be exposed at any minute. And
not only getting exposed, because it's deeper than that right now. If you get put out there as a racist on Facebook or Twitter, Instagram like that, you're losing your job. They are firing you because that company does not want that
risk
in there. Because now, if you keep the racists on, now what about all these black people? So you pretty much saying that you're cool with them working with a racist every day.
But you know, the reflection, like I said once before earlier, the reflection goes back to the top. Here's what's literally happened. 8 years of President Obama. Some of the same people that voted him in are some of the same people that supported Trump because he didn't give them what they wanted. And so Trump is coming with rhetoric and with all this divisiveness. So out of one mouth, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. Out of one mouth, the players that kneel are SOBs, and we all know what that means. But out of another mouth with Charles, this white man comes in, kills these people, gets taken to Burger King to get something to eat, and makes it to the jailhouse alive. That's a whole nother segment that y'all want to chime in on. It's a whole nother segment. But then you have that
is systematic racism.
Yeah,
that is the exact example of systematic racism. You have a white guy go inside of a church, a black church, kill a whole bunch of people, and get taken out alive.
Yeah,
but we can't even get pulled over without being killed.
Right. Yeah. And then we tell you what we have, like in, was it Minneapolis or was it in another part of the state where the guy had
that was in Minneapolis. Yep.
Where the guy was on camera and he said, I have my gun. It's in my glove box, and here I'm going to give you my permit. And he shot the man with a baby in the car, and they still let him go. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, Michael Vick goes to jail for 2 years for dogfighting, and he gets blackballed and dogged out because he killed dogs. But police officers are able to go get fired from one job, go to another police officer job, as if nothing happened. And they get no justice for the families. And
one of the biggest things is, and I'm tying this to this, I know we just jumping around, but we've got to vote, y'all. This November, we have got to vote. I can't stress it enough. I heard a stat the other day. The Department of Justice, as far as officer complaints filed with the Department of Justice, under President Bush, which was 8 years, there were a total of 13. Under President Obama, which were 8 years, there was a total of 14. Under 45, there's only been one. So that tells you right there the way things are operating. I still feel like 13 or 14 is not enough, but there's only been one in 4 years, one formally filed complaint. So we've got to go vote. I really can't stress that enough, y'all.
But see, the reason you don't want to file a formal complaint on the officer is because of backlash. If I get pulled over by an officer and then go file a complaint, you think that sergeant not gonna tell that officer, hey, that dude that you pulled over in this car the other day, he filed a complaint on you.
Yep.
So now I'm getting harassed every time I'm driving and he's at work. Every time. Yep. The complaint doesn't do anything but makes me a target even more than I already am.
That's true.
Let me give you, if you don't mind me giving you this scenario. This is a true story. I had a situation where I had an encounter with a police officer on a rainy day. And I was on my way home. It was raining. And at this time, I had my blue car. That blue car, pretty much I hit a pool of water and a hydroplane. So I'm already freaking out from that, and I'm pressing my brakes, and I'm like, God help. And so I stopped. I had to press my emergency brake, and it stopped. And so the way I did it, I had to go into the middle of the street. So imagine me being just nervous. You being nervous, it scared the mess out of me. And I'm like, okay, let me try to get it together. Didn't work. So by this time, there was already somebody had an accident. If you all are familiar with St. Vincent's East, that little hill, on St. Vincent's East, people always have an accidents over that way. And I just happened to be in the middle of the road, was scared to even move my car because I didn't know what happened. And I'm thinking, okay, the police officer is coming. And instead of him saying, sir, are you okay? I get, why are you in the middle of the street? And it's like, dude, really? And it's like, I'm freaking out. And when I try to explain to him, I'm like, officer, I just hydroplane. He's like, get out the street. Don't you know? And it's just like, really? It's like, is it that deep? So from that standpoint, and it's like, as a brother of a police officer, and those who've been friends of law enforcement members, I want to trust the police, but it's situations like that where I am like the group talking about it's like blank the police is all I'm gonna say. It's like it's times like that. It's times where, in another instance, I had my children in the back of my car, and I'm pulled over by Jefferson County Sheriff, and they're like, we've gotten a call that these cars have been taken, or suspicion of the car been taken. I'm like, man, don't nobody want this car. I was like, I paid my note on this car, and it's just like that feeling of I'm scared for myself and for my girls. So it's like moments like that. It's like F the police, even though I'm trying to respect them. They're making every effort to make me feel the other way around. And it's like, it's just, I don't know.
But you know, Trey, I can't say that because I have had some good run-ins with cops, white.
Yeah.
I had some bad run-in with cops. Like I was talking about the gun being drawn on me. I remember I never forget that I got stopped at a roadblock in Centerpoint. And they was looking for license and registrations and insurance cards. I pulled out my license and my registration. I just couldn't find my insurance card. And the guy, he told me, he said, hey man, he said, you like a good brother, because I had my wife and my kids in the car. He's like, you like a good brother. He's like, I don't think you up to nothing tonight. He's like, he said, obviously you have insurance just because you don't have your card. And he kind of just waved me on. He told his guys up front, let him through. He's good.
Yeah.
So, you still have your good guys and you still have your bad guys. A lot of it, just like we have all discussed earlier in this segment, like Jacoby said, but when he went back home and what we talked about is taught.
Yeah.
So some guys, some guys just have a hatred in their heart for some reason towards black guys. I don't know what we did. If anybody should have hatred in our hearts, should be black guys towards white people.
And don't give me, like I gave you two examples of where it went bad, but like I said, I also had a good example. That's why I was like, when I had this case in Irondale, I know I was fine. Like going back to the office trying to get something for a customer, and this guy pulls me over, and the police officer pulled me over for Irondale. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm freaking out, having that fear that we normally have. And it went well, and I was like, man, thank you. So for every two cases like that, when that didn't go wrong, there are those good cops that are out there that are trying to do their job. But it's just
but the scary part about it is we pray and we hope that neither one of us five ever get that bad cop experience.
Exactly.
Where they try to pull us out and hurt us. And it's shame to be at the place where we pay taxes just like the white man.
Yeah.
We do things just like the white man. We still have to be in fear for our life every day. I mean, we know we get up in the morning and we go to work. We don't know if we're going to come home. You know why? Because of cops. And it's sad. And I wish we can get past this. And I pray that we can get past this. But it's sad. It's like McBride. McBride actually fought for the country. But like he said, we get more grief and hell, right here in America than he did in Afghanistan. That don't make sense, man. That don't make sense.
One thing I like to say about incidents with officers, I have a brother that I'm really close with, and he and I talk all the time, and we talk about politics and social issues like this. And one of the things that I was sharing with him is that we have to be cautious in generalizing, and I'm glad to hear that we're not in this conversation generalizing all officers in one case and all officers in another. I'm glad to hear that because, and I was telling him this, we have to take each of these cases individually. Now, not negating that there's validity that 1 + 1 = 2. Plus 1 = 3. Plus 1 = 4. Don't get it twisted that I don't realize that this is happening too often for it to be a one-off. I'm not saying that. But when we look at these officers, man, you need to look at him just as if you would look at me or look at me just as if you would look at him. When these cases happen, man, they generalize, they try to pass them over, they try to get them out of the media real quickly, and there's no justification. But on our end, we do have to keep love in our heart and keep these cases individually. Because I don't want to see where mainly the rioting. I'm all for the protesting, but I don't want to see where mainly the rioting takes place of George Floyd's life or anybody else's, because man, their life was legitimate. You don't just take a person's life just for no reason, but we also have to handle these cases individually, and we can't add on anything from a case that may have happened in Missouri or Atlanta or anywhere else and add it to this case in Minneapolis. We do need to try him for what he did and the other officers, but we can't pile on the other stuff as well, because man, I'm telling that, man, that builds so much hate in your heart, and we can find ourselves to where we're reacting in a sense to where we're unjustified just as well as they're unjustified.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like something I seen on Facebook the other day. Said that they protesting for George Floyd, but they rioting for everybody since Emmett Till.
And that makes a lot of sense.
You know, and it's like, I understand. I might, you know what? It is what it is. You know, if the only way somebody gonna listen to you is by hitting them in the pocket, then hit them in the pocket.
But you know, another thing that's going on. You're having a mixture of supremacists in the mix too. Because I was reading an article where there were two black ladies that were in a protest, and there was this one white lady that had she was spray painting Black Lives Matter, and they were like, "This isn't us." So we have to be mindful, you know, of that too. You know, just because you got people, you know, rioting, it doesn't necessarily always mean that they're with the cause of social justice or fighting social injustice. So we have to be mindful of that. And then we also have to be strategic too, because the next step is, okay, once the marching is over, once the rioting is over, what is next? Once the tearing down of the monument is over, what's next? We have to be strategic about the situation. We have to make changes, reforms, different types of reforms from the spiritual level on down, because it's deeper than the White House. It's deeper than Congress. It's deeper than the House of Representatives. It's people's hearts. It's people's spirits. The spirit man and the spirit portion of people is corrupt. And so it's affecting the physical.
I get what you're saying. I understand that. All of us understand that, right? But we're older, right?
Yeah.
I was in Birmingham Sunday night when they was tearing down the statue. It wasn't us. It was these younger black kids.
Gotcha.
Right? And the thing is like, you can be mad at them, but you got to think about this also. It's the police locking up their parents, killing their parents, killing their friends, locking up their friends, beating on them for no reason. You know, because they're less likely to beat on us, but a whole lot more likely to beat on some young dude that they think is in the game.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say with that, McBride, that you said, I kind of agree with what you said. We need to hit them in the pocket, but with the rioting, you're hitting the wrong people in the pocket. If we're really going to hit them in the pocket, it's like kind of like what Brandon said. We have to vote. Now, when it comes to nationally, I feel a certain way about that. You have the electoral college, stuff can get fudged once you get to that level of voting. That's a whole nother topic of conversation for me. But statewide, we do need to vote. And I feel strongly about that, because then that's where you can hit them in the pocket.
I feel you, right?
I personally think that a lot of the racism and the things that are out there is based off the dollar. These are my personal thoughts.
Yep.
And I'm doing research behind this, but I really see it being behind the dollar. You have politicians out there and things like that will egg this stuff on. They're making money and stuff off the back end of this, and they're not the ones being directly affected. But when you go and riot and stuff to these businesses, these are people that are trying to make it work, just like we are now. Whether they are racist or not, I don't know that. But many of the businesses that were hit were people that will not affect change for us directly. I don't even know if it was wasted energy. And I agree with you. They're releasing frustration. And generally, when you're frustrated, you're not thinking clearly. I agree with that. But if we're trying to really affect the pocket to get their attention, then we really have to go at it in a more structured way with strategy, and take their energy that they want to riot with, take that energy and help them sit down and structure that. Because man, I promise you, if they're that bold, really, we can use that energy and go, because we got some decades to go.
Right. We
can really use that energy to really propel us forward. So by the time my son turns, 33, the same age that I am now, he's not fighting the same thing. But we got to understand how to properly affect their pocket.
The only thing is that you got these 16, 17-year-old kids that's not old enough to vote, that know that they're not going to go to jail. You're going to arrest me and all 20 of my friends, and y'all gonna stick us in juvenile together. So what you think gonna happen in juvenile hall? You get what I'm saying? So they don't see a consequence, especially when they records gonna be sealed once they turn 18.
Right.
So it's hard to stop them. You get what I'm saying? Because they don't have any structure at home. So like, we can preach all day, but if they're not getting it at home, then there's nothing anybody can do to stop them.
Well, they're
not scared of the police.
Right. You know what, McBride? It's funny that you say, and it's actually interesting that you say that. Even in the civil rights movement, it's going to seem like we're going to really have to do what they did in the civil rights movement, because even then you had the SNCC, you had the young people coming together. So what's going to happen is you're going to have those, and I don't know if will it work, but having those 16, 17-year-old leaders, you know what I'm saying, those cats, those kids their age are gonna listen to come up and take that leadership role.
Yeah.
But the sad part about it though, and Jacoby and McBride and Trey, y'all are all right. The way to fix everything is hit them in the votes. But the sad part about it is, like McBride said, you got younger guys out there, 16, 17, they can't vote, but they're out there protesting. But then we got guys that are able to vote, and they are lazy to get up on voting day to get out there and vote. That's the one thing that, as a black person, where, we had a lot of people go to jail. My grandfather actually went to jail walking the streets of Birmingham for us to have the right to vote. But as a black race, we get content and we get real lazy. And the sad part about all that is, you'll sit here and complain about Trump, and you'll complain about Bush, and you'll complain about every president we done had that they felt like we was oppressed by. But still, when it comes up to vote in a few years, do you think they'll get out there and vote? No, because it's just like, it's like we'll talk about it, but we won't be about it. And we have to, and I think Brandon, and a matter of fact, I don't think I know that Brandon and Q Smith had a segment about voting, about getting out there and exercising your rights. We have to get out there and exercise our rights, because we can talk about it all day. We can ride, we can protest, we can do anything. But the one that really counts is when you go cast your votes at the polls.
It's very important. Well said, Mr. Watson.
That's right. Q, what's happening, man?
What to do, big dog? Just tuning in, checking out the flows, man. I'm loving the dialogue. I'm loving the topic of discussion. Hopefully, with the platform that we have, guys, that we could implement some of these ideas and have a change going forward. Not only for our culture, but for the whole nation.
Hey, you are sitting sideways, brother.
Oh, my bad.
There you go. There you go. All right, fellas. Man, look, y'all have been, man, phenomenal. So good, in fact, until we're gonna do a part 2 of this. So I will get with you guys, of course, off camera to set a date and a time when everyone is available. But individually, any last thing that you want to leave the people with?
I want to challenge to all 6 of us now. I want to challenge us to go out and let's just express love to our white community. If you see somebody of the, well, we're gonna just say white because that's where it seems like our problem is. Let's just let them know we love them. If you just say I love you, my brother, whether they look at you crazy or whether they want to accept it or not, let's just challenge, because it starts with us 6 right here on this call today. We have to change the world. Now, we all are Christians, we all believe in Christ, and we all believe in everybody is one. We have to start here. We have to inform our children that ignorance is bliss. You can't go along with racism. Because somebody's the different color, they don't believe in the same politics you believe in, they don't believe in the same ethics that you believe in. We still gotta love them. McBride and Demetrius, a big Alabama fan. Everybody know I'm a big Auburn fan. Brandon is a big Tennessee fan.
We don't know why.
Look, Trey, my God, Trey's a Virginia Tech fan.
That's because of Vic. That's because of Vic.
But you know what though? I love all these guys. These guys know I'm one phone call away.
Yeah.
So if we can do that doing college football, we can do it just doing the world.
Right.
Just because you don't believe the same stuff I believe does not mean I can't love you the way I love my mother and my brothers and my sisters and everybody else in my family.
Love you, brother.
Love you, brother.
Yeah, love you, man.
That's good. That's good.
For me, I would say get a part of the movement that's going on right now. You know, you don't have to go protest. You get what I'm saying? It's not in every, you know, you work nights, you know, you don't have time to. Everybody doesn't have time to. You don't have to donate your time. You can donate money. You get what I'm saying? You know people are going to jail out here. Donate money to their bill, donate money to one of the different organizations. Whenever we out protesting, they always have water for us. You get what I'm saying? That's not free. That's not getting donated. People are paying for it. So if you don't want to donate your time, then donate some money to the cause. And anything helps, right?
Yeah.
That's all I want to say. I've been out protesting. I've protested numerous times this week, even with work. I've left work to go protest. You know, that's my personal decision. I'm not saying you have to do that, but just do something.
Yeah.
You know, just like I said the other day, what are you going to tell your grandkids, your children, your grandkids when they get older and they ask you, just like we asked all our grandparents, what you do during the civil rights? You know, what you do during the protest? Did you go out there and protest with them? You know, just think about that. Think about that legacy you're going to leave for your kids and your grandkids.
I agree with you there, McBride.
I agree.
That's one thing that is key on my mind because I'm a thinker. I'm more of a strategist to where I'm thinking through, because I don't want this movement to be temporary. I don't want what needs to change to only be on the table and for a short time and have a quick expiration date. My thing is to how do I affect life now so white kids don't think how people do today, or how they did in the 60s and how they did in the 40s. How do I make a move to support what's going on now to be long lasting? I want something with longevity in it, and not something to be quick. And so that's kind of my challenge, to help us to think. And because I like how you say it, you know, find out how you can support. But again, not everybody can make the same move, but we can all support. Because if we were all hands, man, we'd be one jacked up body, you know. And so we have to make sure, you know, if the feet are moving, you know, what are the arms and the hands doing? You know, what are the legs doing? And so I challenge us to think in that sense, to where have a quick thing just because something is in the media. I want to see after things die down from the media, but I want to see some legit things happening to where systems and things are changing. So as we make our moves, I challenge us to think of the longevity of our decisions that we make.
Right. Right.
I actually kind of want to just come off what everybody said. To take the words from the late Michael Jackson, me personally, I challenge everybody to start with the man in the mirror. Black, white, people of all races. Look at yourself. Look at your heart. And if your mind needs to be renewed, change your mind. Change the way we think. Like by what Jay said is, you know, reaching out to your brothers, loving on your white brothers, just loving, period. Also loving our brothers who are black, and reaching to these young people and saying, man, we here for you, we here with you. And, you know, it starts with us. And we are all men, we are all black men. It starts with us. It starts with our leadership, just by example. So just challenging us to look at the man in the mirror and see what we can change.
That's real, fellas. That's real, man. Once again, look, man, y'all have been wonderful. And this is the first episode we've ever done where me nor Q have really had to talk. We was able to sit back and listen and enjoy.
Exactly.
It's been awesome, man. And I mean, I agree with every one of you guys. We are, believe it or not, we are the generation of change. It's on us. You know, back in the 60s, Dr. King them did their thing. Coming up in the 70s, we had the Panthers. They did theirs. The 80s and the 90s is where we lack. And now it's on us. So if the world is going to change, it's our time to pick up that torch and to run with it, you know. So like McBride said, I'm encouraging everyone to go out and to protest. If you have not protested, man, do not do yourself that disservice. Everyone needs to go at least once. It's an experience. The feeling you have down there is something that I can't even describe. You know, be a part of the movement, but give yourself that, because that's something you're going to remember for the rest of your life. Go experience that.
Be real quick. Can McBride share, like, if you have those who are listening who want to give, how they can go about doing that? If they wanted to, if like you talk about the water, if we can donate bottles of water or things like that, how can we go about doing that?
McBride,
you have to get in touch with the Black Lives Matter on Facebook.
Okay.
I don't have their exact name on right in front of me, but that's who's been providing water for us, the Black Lives Matter movement.
Okay,
great. But hey, once again, thank you, fellas. Y'all have been great. Q,
What they do, big dog?
Take us home, man.
Hey, man, guys, we want to thank you for tuning in. It's another great episode of Live Lit Legit. And before we go, guys, if you please can tell people where they can find you and follow you at, guys.
Well, you know, you can find me on Twitter at your boy Jay Watt. You also can find me on Facebook at Jay Watson. With saying that, I'm still going to step into my role as business manager, Jacoby. I will be talking to you offset. so we can schedule some things with you in the future. So get ready. You're gonna be seeing my number pop up on your call ID. Mark or McBride, I'm sorry, as well. You're gonna get the same call.
Dang,
so get ready. Get ready.
Them boys good.
But you can find me at Jay Watt, and you can find me on Facebook at Jay Watson.
Thank you, Jay.
You can find me on Facebook at Travaris Perry. I can't remember my Instagram, but Facebook Travaris Perry. And that's all I can think of right now.
You can find you every Wednesday on the YouTube channel.
Listen, man. Look, I ain't ate yet, so my mind gone.
You can also find me on Facebook as well at Jacoby Kendrick. That's the primary social media channel that I use right now.
See, I don't feel bad no more.
No, don't feel bad, man.
Trey, you got a show on the channel.
Bishop Fix My Church. Bishop Fix My Church. There you go.
And when can they find you, Bishop?
On Wednesday afternoon. Every Wednesday afternoon. We're gonna have some new things coming soon. We had a little situation where because of the curfew, we weren't able to do it last week. We're gonna be back on track, and we're gonna make sure you check it out because we are always gonna have something new.
Thank you, Bishop. What's your name? What's your full name, Bishop?
Cleophas Washington King III X. That's what his name is. Cause y'all know back in the day, all them preachers had about 5 or 6 names, and they was all Black history.
Last but not least.
Oh, you don't want to find me. You become my friend. You might get on the FBI watch list. I'll leave that at
Oh, what is going on, guys?
Wait a minute.
Oh boy,
wasn't the training day going on?
Yeah. No, hey, mad disabled veteran, bro. That's what it is. Trust me.
Wow. Mark, you living at what's that game you like playing? Call of Duty. You live in real life, ain't you?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh
man.
Well, sir, you stay safe out there, and
yes,
stay anonymous. Well, we thank you guys. We thank you guys, man. We thank you guys. Live Lit Legit, guys. Tune in for part 2. We have more discussions coming because we're always talking about what you're talking about. We're always trying to use our platform to help and move us forward in a positive manner as a nation and a culture. So, guys, thank you once again. Hey, B, it's been another episode of Live Lit Legit. Guys, if you could, on 3, salute and sign off. 1, 2, 3, and say, that's a wrap.
That's